Hi, I'm Faith McCann, and I've been a witch for over 40 years. And no, we are not evil. Learn more about the magical world and how the magical world affects your world right here on The Magical Alternative. And you don't have to be a witch to watch. And welcome everyone to The Magical Alternative. I'm Faith McCann, and this is our July show. And I want to welcome the crew of The Magical Alternative. Yay! November Sound won't be with us tonight, but we'll have two pretty fun videos for you, music videos. And my guest tonight on Zoom is High Priestess of Progressive Witchcraft, filmmaker and visual artist, Deidre Cotero. She will be discussing the Thread documentary, which is really exciting, and I can't wait to share that with you. Welcome to July. How's your summer doing? Or perhaps I should ask, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? Gardens are a magical topic this evening, and not necessarily your typical gardens. Do you plant a few vegetables each summer, or plant a large garden to can, freeze, and share all of your vegetables with your friends and neighbors? Maybe you stick to beautiful flowers to enjoy and admire and appreciate the gardens of others by buying fruits and vegetables at a farm stand or a fruit market. Well, gardens have been sustaining mankind since biblical days. But was the Garden of Eden the first garden written about? Now, we know Moses wrote about the Garden of Eden in Genesis. Rabbis and modern scholars disagree when Moses actually lived, and between the two, we can narrow it down to between 533 and 333 BCE. Yet there were expansive walled gardens written about during the First Persian Empire, the 6th and the 5th century BCE. So there was heavy overlap, and perhaps those earlier tales were the inspiration of the Eden visualized by Moses as the first garden. Eden had two trees, if biblical accounts are to be believed: the tree of life that Adam and Eve could eat from, and the tree of knowledge, oh no, not allowed, and that was the one the serpent tempted Eve with. Now, it was written that the garden contained every fruit and vegetable needed for mankind to survive. Other famous gardens, like the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, which were terraced gardens reputed to have been built by Nebuchadnezzar around 600 BCE. Well, those were supposed to be amazing gardens, actually built up on pillars high in the sky. But archaeologists, historians, and scholars are in heated disagreement as to whether they existed at all or were actually in Babylon. The love story that goes along with the Hanging Gardens of Babylon is that a princess named Amytis of Medea, who is the wife of Nebuchadnezzar, missed the lushness and green trees of her homeland. So he built a huge palace with pillars and hallways of stone and placed the gardens on a framework of reeds and bamboo with water channels on the top to collect rainwater. People were said to walk beneath and marvel at the wonders of the gardens growing above them. Now, all of these experts claim that there isn't enough rainfall to sustain a huge garden in the sky from precipitation. Well, not today. Except of all the archaeologists, historians, and scholars, there's one scientist that doesn't appear to have been consulted. It would have been either a forensic meteorologist or a paleoclimatologist. And these are weather people who study climate patterns and changes that occurred in the distant past. If they had, they could have told them that the rainfall was more than double the amount 2,000 plus years ago than today, making Arabia a fertile and lush vegetative savanna, roaming with lions, leopards, and wolves. Unlike today's hyper-arid desert. The Hanging Gardens were reputed to be in the area of Babylon, today's modern-day Iraq. So did they exist? Didn't they? Is the rainy weather or lack thereof enough proof? More likely, they didn't exist in Babylon for another much more human reason. Then, like today, the rich, the powerful, the kings, queens, emperors, and such wanted to be remembered. Diaries, journals, whether they wrote them themselves or had a scribe write them, they had their day-to-day accounts written down. No matter the country, the culture, the people, their day-to-day life was recorded. And Nebuchadnezzar II himself was no exception. But he was a vain and pompous king. His writings were filled with braggadocious claims of all of his accomplishments, his building projects. He built religious temples, and how well he felt he treated his people. He was a great and glorious king, just ask him. He told everyone, he wrote it down. Except that there are no writings by him that ever mentioned the Hanging Gardens. And if the gardens were as amazing as history leads us to believe, he certainly would have been bragging to everyone about it. Nor are there any references to the Hanging Gardens in any surviving inscriptions or Babylonian texts. If indeed Nebuchadnezzar had created the gardens, he would have crowed from the rooftops about them. Sadly, there's also no written evidence in any records at the time of his marrying anyone named Amytis from Media. In history, when Amytis, Nebuchadnezzar's wife, is mentioned, she's only mentioned in the story relating to the Hanging Gardens, as she longed for her homeland, and then he thus built the gardens for her. That's the mythology. Well, weddings in Nebuchadnezzar's time were recorded on clay tablets, as weddings were legal contracts, and as thus were recorded very seriously. A significant wedding of a king from one kingdom to a bride from another kingdom, and Babylon and Media were such kingdoms coming together. They're two great military alliances. This would have been recorded on several clay tablets to be dispersed between the two kingdoms. The fact that no evidence, nor any of these tablets or fragments of them, has ever been found strongly suggests that Nebuchadnezzar never married a woman from Media named Amytis. So the reason for his building the garden just fades away. Yet there is a strong body of evidence suggesting that the Hanging Gardens in Babylon were actually located in Nineveh, the ancient capital of the Assyrian Empire, today in modern-day Mosul, Iraq. Scholars like Oxford professor Stephanie Dalley have proposed that the gardens were built by Assyrian king Sennacherib of Nineveh, not Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. Professor Dalley published a book in 2013 which lays out her argument as to why she believes this to be true. Her book is called Nineveh and Its Remains, where evidence of such a garden architectural and engineering project exists to this day. Even with the Archimedes screw system designed to draw water up from a river or another body of water to the top of the gardens to actually provide water. Other gardens that you might find fascinating that you wouldn't normally expect are poison gardens. And there is one famous poison garden in the UK, created in 2005 in Alnwick Castle. The entire garden is dedicated to the most poisonous plants in the world. Created by the Duchess of Northumberland, Jane Percy, and her husband is the 12th Duke of Northumberland. When her husband inherited the estate, she set aside a small portion of the garden, filled it exclusively with over 100 toxic, intoxicating, and narcotic plants. She used the Medicis, the infamous Italian family from Florence, as inspiration. While not universally known for widespread poisoning, some members of the Medici family, particularly Catherine de' Medici, are associated with the use of poison and black magic. The Medici family's involvement in poisoning is a subject of historical debate, with some evidence suggesting their interest in and collection of poisons. Alnwick Castle was used in 2 Harry Potter movies as a filming location. So if you've seen Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or I think in this country it's called Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It was originally the Philosopher's Stone because that is the term in Great Britain. And Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, it served as the exterior of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry in both films. If you remember where Harry played Quidditch, this is the place.
Atropa belladonna will kill you. Datura will put you to sleep forever. Aconitum will kill you. Laurel will produce cyanide and kill you. Every plant here in the poison garden is poisonous and has the ability to kill you. My name's Trevor Jones and I'm the head gardener of Alnwick Garden. This plant is giant hogweed. It will get up to around about 8 foot high. It's phototoxic, so it will burn your skin and give you blisters for up to 7 years. This garden is set in the wall garden of the old castle in Northumberland, UK. We'd have around about 95 plants, and we're adding to the collection all the time. This plant is Aconitum, or monkshood, wonderful blue flowers, but the whole of the plant is poisonous. The berries, crushed up and fed to you, will kill you. The leaves themselves will kill you also, as will the root and the stem. We have to obviously maintain the garden, so we have to tend the plants, and when we do that we have to be very careful of the way we operate. So we have to cover some of our skin when we deal with particularly dangerous plants. This plant is laurel. It produces cyanide, and we all know what that'll do to you. So it was the brainchild of the Duchess of Northumberland. So rather than having a herb garden, she decided to create more interest and have a poison garden. They're very, very common plants. In fact, a lot of them are what we call cottage garden plants, and they're grown in many people's gardens, but people don't know how harmful they actually are. This is Atropa belladonna. 4 berries are enough to kill a child. People are intrigued by poisonous plants and often very worried when they come out because many of them will be growing these plants at home. They don't realise the powerful impact plants can have on us as humans.
Now let's discuss some of the poisonous plants, and do you have any in your garden? You might be surprised that you do. And the Duchess of Northumberland actually created this garden as an educational forum to teach young people about the dangers of drugs, and for other people to realize how dangerous it is that some of the very simple plants we might have in our gardens can be so deadly. Let's talk about mountain laurel. Any of the laurels, specifically laurel plants, contain cyanogenic glycosides, which break down into cyanide when the plant is damaged or crushed. This means that even when cutting and trimming laurel hedges, The release of hydrocyanic fumes is possible. Laurel is very poisonous. Be careful of loading up your enclosed car with cut clippings. The fumes can overcome people. It releases cyanide gas. So if you're going to be taking lawn clippings and shrub clippings, use an open truck, a pickup truck, and don't stick them into the back of your car. People have been known to drive off the road, and by the time they're found, they're in very serious condition. Belladonna, nightshade, black nightshade, tobacco, datura, ashwagandha, jimson weed, ground cherry, petunia, night blooming jasmine are all part of the belladonna nightshade family, as well as tomato, potato, eggplant, bell peppers, habanero peppers, Carolina Reaper. Now, are they poisonous? Paracelsus said at one time, he was a Greek philosopher way back when, everything is poison, nothing is without poison. It is the dosage alone which determines. And that's important. There are, if you were to Google it, there's all kinds of information online saying that people can actually eat the green plants of tomatoes. They contain solanine, and solanine is toxic. If you Google, is it poisonous? It might say no, but is it toxic? It'll say yes. That is too fine a line to wanna walk. I wouldn't. Stay away from anything like that. The plant is not meant to be eaten. Tomatoes, potatoes, eggplants, bell peppers, those are all fine to eat. But realize if a potato is starting to turn green, it's not really good to eat. And even though it's a great movie and people seem to love it, fried green tomatoes, there's a lot of solanine in there. So eating it can cause you to have a lot of digestive issues, upset stomach. Cooking it really does not eliminate it. So if you eat fried green tomatoes and then you find that you kind of don't feel so good later, it's because of the toxin. And solanine is a toxic compound that can be poisonous to humans if consumed in high enough quantities. What is a high quantity really depends on you and your sensitivity to it. So, rhododendron, the beautiful rhododendron plant. We have a lot of those here in New England. All parts of the plant, including the leaves, flowers, nectar, even the vase water contains toxins called gray anon toxins. These are highly poisonous and can be harmful to humans, animals, especially pets like cats and dogs. Their cousins, azalea, also very dangerous to eat or have in the home. Witches have been thought of as poisoners in ancient history, from Circe Invidosa to the apple handed to the innocent lass in a Grimm's fairy tale. Circe Invidosa means Circe the Jealous. It's a painting made famous by John William Waterhouse depicting the sorceress Circe turning her rival Scylla into a sea monster out of jealousy. It's based on Ovid's Metamorphosis, where Circe poisons the waters Scylla bathes in because she is rejected by Glaucus. Waterhouse's painting portrays Circe in the act of casting the spell, with Scylla's transformed form visible beneath her feet. But in truth, we don't harm others. People do that all on their own. Our last amazing garden is not so much a garden, but a vault for future gardens yet to be planted. The Seed Vault, the Svalbard Global Seed Vault. It is in Norway, is a secure backup facility for the world's crop diversity on the Norwegian island of Spitsbergen in the remote Arctic Svalbard archipelago. The vault is built inside an Arctic rock, with the cold temperatures keeping the seeds dormant and safe for conceivably ever until needed. The Seed Vault provides long-term storage for duplicates of seeds from around the world conserved in gene banks. This provides security of the world's food supply against the loss of seeds in gene banks due to mismanagement, accidents, equipment failures, funding cuts, war, sabotage, disease, and natural disasters. The Seed Vault is managed under terms spelled out in a tripartite agreement among the Norwegian government, the Crop Trust, and the Nordic Genetic Resource Center. The Seed Vault right now holds over 1.3 million seed samples, and each sample contains an average of 500 seeds. So right now, the vault has approximately 2.5 billion seeds for future generations, should our Earth need it. Though the Seed Vault is designed to contain seeds to plant for the entire Earth's population or various areas, it is owned by the Norwegian government. Not every country has deposited seeds to the Seed Vault, but many have, including the Cherokee Nation, Morocco, the United States, India, China, Russia, and Germany, amongst others. And in 2020, Israel deposited wild emmer wheat, known as the mother of wheat.
Buried deep in the side of a mountain, itself deep in the Arctic Circle, the most diverse collection of food crop seeds in the world. There are regular deposits from gene banks in every corner of the globe. The collection now stands just short of 1.2 million varieties in total. They're scanned to check that nothing unwanted ends up in the vault. Apart from any doomsday scenarios, the vault acts as insurance against more day-to-day issues like power outages in developing countries.
It's important to be here to prevent any catastrophe in future. We keep the seeds in a freezer and the light go and power come back. It changes the inside temperature in the freezer, and this affects the germination of the seeds, and then we lost a lot of our sessions. It is important to duplicate so that if anything happens to what we are conserving in our country, we can get it back from the vault easily to regenerate.
Although the vault is kept artificially chilled, Svalbard's permafrost acts as a good backup. And it was that permafrost that started this whole project. There are more than 1,700 gene banks in the world, all trying to improve what we eat. The remoteness of the vault also helps protect it from other man-made problems.
I hope you found our special episode regarding gardens interesting. Now go out and start planting yours. Now I have a music video for you from Bob Dylan. I hope you enjoy this. This is his original Subterranean Homesick Blues. Thank you. That was Bob Dylan, way back in the 1960s, doing his Subterranean Homesick Blues. And now I have a special video for you. I did this back in 2021, and it is called 2021. This is a song I wrote, and I am performing in this. The music was composed, and it is also performed by Jack Riley. It's called 2021. I hope you enjoy it. It's my homage to Bob Dylan. Here we are, we have come, where we're going, where we're from. Hey, are you having fun? It's 2021. Still turns despite ourselves. We've just come through a journey through hell. Listen now and hear me well. You know the story I'm gonna tell. We came together to fight the plague. From sourdough bread to crafts we've made, we help one another through night and day to keep spirits up, to keep the fears away. Hey, are you having fun? It's 2021. and social in between. The more we must, we have to learn to breathe, while black men cried for their mamas, please. The anger grew, the great lies too, with children in cages, so many approved, as the wall between humanity grew, saying what we had wasn't broken too. Hey everybody, are you having fun? It's 2021. The louder our voices became, we knew that the world would never be the same. Normal has gone, was it here for long? Where did we go wrong? We did everything right. We spoke out, we marched, we kept up the fight. We started to turn back the night. Yet those who wore blinders believe the big lie, that some were not worthy, not deserving of life. The rich get richer, the poor just die, while evil on the hill simply deny. That 584,000 dead, we all know whose hands are red. It's just a hoax is what they said. Believe not what you see, but us instead. They can't change what we've seen. It's not everything by any means. No beginning and no end. The looking glass twists and bends. The song is so we don't forget the year we've lived as one. Hey, are you having fun? Are you having fun? Are you having fun? Are you having fun? It's 2021. Are you having fun? Are you having fun? Are you having fun? It's 2021. And now I'd like to introduce you to High Priestess of Progressive Witchcraft, filmmaker and visual artist, Deidre Cotero, discussing the Thread documentary. Hi, Deidre.
How are you?
Very good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Greetings.
So you are High Priestess of Progressive Witchcraft,
Mhm.
and you are also a production designer in film, historical magic consultant, multimedia artist. Well, can you tell us about first the Progressive Witchcraft? I think my viewers know Janet Farah and Gavin Bone. They're a really integral part of this particular show, The Magical Alternative, and Progressive Witchcraft is their deal. So if you could tell us how that came about, please.
So Janet and Gavin are actually my grand high priest and priestess. So they are the high priest and priestess of my high priestess, Bernadette Montana. And Bernadette's just really cool, and I love her dearly. And she brought in so many guests to teach us from many different traditions and to give us insight and wisdom and workshops and classes. And some of us in our group got training in many different ways from that. And Progressive Witchcraft is a beautiful tradition where you learn the history and delve into the depths of where things came from so that you can move forward.
Oh, that's awesome. And how long have you been a high priestess?
So technically at your second degree, you could call yourself a high priest or priestess by like what you're given in that form, but like to be the high priest or priestess of a tradition, you can't do until your third degree. So I got my third degree when I was 24, which is pretty young.
That's
okay.
awesome.
Interesting journeys for everyone.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And when you go through something that intensive, and I know with Gavin and Janet, it wouldn't be a cakewalk. You have to really do a lot of work. You would definitely have earned it. Now, you're stateside. So did you go there to?
No, I did it here with my high priestess in New York.
Oh, that's wonderful. Our world is a lot smaller than people realize.
Yes. If we allow it to be, I think that's the biggest thing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the concept of gratitude of that is so important because in this infinite time and space that we happen to exist, we get to exist in the same time. And at the same time, we get to exist in the same space with moments like that. Like, how lucky are we that we get to do this? Like, what is the happenstance of the universe that we get to? That's really awesome. And we get to share.
That is. Now, you're a production designer for film. and all of this, the historical magic consultant, multimedia artist. Does this all come together in the Thread documentary?
It's like yes and no.
It's a film documentary. Could you tell us more about that?
Okay, so the Thread documentary aims to show the connection of humanity through a lens of these traditions that have stood the test of time. And the idea is to speak to the elders of many spiritual traditions in their lands, in their words, to hear their words before we don't get to, and to show that golden thread that connects everything, connects everyone and everything, no matter when, where, what tradition. That's the idea of the thread. And then from there, we get the web of how that connects. And from there, we get the beautiful tapestry of humanity that's made of all of these threads that come together.
That's lovely. And how long is this documentary?
Oh, it's in progress. We're still hoping to raise the funds for it. We've done a few kind of, let's say, proof of concepts that the universe has presented to us before we were fiscally ready for it.
Ah, I see. Yes.
So the footage that you see in that trailer and the next ones that we have coming up include some really beautiful scenarios where we are invited into sacred spaces that, because of, again, who and what we are, we were invited, and that's like an honor. And we got to do it. And we're continuing to get to do it. So we hope to go to Ireland to speak with Janet and Gavin. We hope to go to Italy and to Greece and to Scotland and to New Orleans and to the East and to the New England area to reach out to the elders that have helped train me and have like influenced my magical career, if you will, and what I do with my students and moving forward and passing down that thread. And it's just this beautiful opportunity for people to come together. And where the production design and art come into it is, so production design, for those who don't know, is head of the art department for film. So everything you see on a screen that isn't a human and isn't the lighting itself, like the wavelengths of light, is pretty much art department. So it's like composition, what's where and why, colors, all that jazz. And I am a union designer, and the union executive producer that I had worked with for a number of years, and I, as well as my non-union friends that I've worked with in like professionally as well, like our director, they didn't know each other. And what ended up happening that was interesting is I was art directing for a union production, and our executive producer, who I knew, but we never really got to like talk much.
Yes.
His name is John Keys, also really cool. He and I ended up realizing that he's my magic uncle under the same tradition. And
wow.
we had worked together for like 5 years and didn't know that. And we were just kind of like, you knew? How do you know? And when I told him about my idea for the thread, this is like 5 years ago, 6 years ago now, he was like, Deidre, let me know and we'll do it. And here we are. So my director that I have now also, so now the director on the non-union side, she is also incredible, Nora Uncle. And she's like a dear sister of mine. And she is a writer and director of productions that I've worked on many times with her, where I was not only the production designer, but film had found out that I was a high priestess, and I kind of became a historical magic consultant because she likes to work in these kind of like more occult, supernaturally vibe things, but also in bigger productions that's happened too. So it's like my families came together.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And like then I get to introduce them to like my high priestess and like my friends, and these are my other magic peeps. And it's just like, I don't know, I'm just really grateful that, I mean, like literally the thread, the concept of the thread, the weird, how things present themselves. Like that is a perfect example of like the film only exists because of that. Because it is this like, we're not separated moment of like, we didn't even know that we had this connection. And yet here we are doing this beautiful thing together, sharing hopefully the concept of humanity as a whole. And that's,
yes,
I'm so grateful for the opportunity for that. And we hope that we get people to want to join us on this journey.
Now, who have you, which cultures or groups have you already talked to?
So we had the opportunity to get invited to speak to, well, my high priestess, which is cool. So that's progressive witchcraft. She's also in the Panther tribe. So she's Lakota trained. So we have a little bit of that influence there. One of the first things we got to film was a Native American powwow in the Ramapo Lenape tradition, because I'm close with one of the elders from that tradition from the time I was young, just because of my stepdad connection.
Yeah.
So who knew? And they invited us to at that. And there we got to witness like Aztec dancers, and we got to witness some circles and beautiful pieces that we got to experience there with the community. And then I reached out to a lot of my older elders and people that you'll see on the website, like Lilith Dorsey or Christopher Penzac and Stephanie Taylor, people that have influenced literally who I am today and what I try to share. Like their teachings are part of me.
Yes.
And when I asked them if they'd be willing to be part of this, they were like, yeah. And then Gavin was like, but also, by the way, we're going to be together at this 20th anniversary Harvest Gathering Festival, which is another incredible place. And so we got to go. And they invited us to film there, and we got to listen to some classes there where we met new people like David Shi, who's part of the North Asian Mongolian tradition and like shamanism. And it's just, it's again, that's the web.
Yes.
And it's just beautiful that we get to have these representations. Like Lilith is more of like the hoodoo voodoo tradition. And we get to have this embodiment of, it doesn't matter where or when you're from, we have that commonality. And really what it is magic is the language of the universe. And what we do as witches is learn to speak it, hopefully. And that's the goal. So it's a conversation with the universe. And how do we get to do that? But someone's got to teach the language, right? So that's where we go to our elders to learn it. It's not that we can't learn it on our own, but there is an energy of time behind things that have existed. And just like nature evolves, so must we, so much our language. However, we have to understand it before we could change it if we need to. And also it's nice to go back to experience the roots of things in order to understand and truly feel and experience why we have it.
I feel that so strongly. I've always been a historian, and I just feel so strongly exactly what you say. We have to go back and at least understand it to appreciate our past. And not just the ancient history, but who I call the magical masters. So I started writing, and it was just so lovely, like you, to meet, the people that first started writing about all of this. And
we
getting to
credit
meet
our
them.
ability to
Yeah,
witness it because of them. They paved the way for us when it wasn't. They wrote things down when they weren't. And that's an honor. I remember the first time I was asked to be a historical magic consultant. And mind you, this is like 5-6 years ago now. And I was like, well, what do I have to offer the world? Look at who I'm sitting with. And she was like, Deidre, look at who you're sitting with. And that made me realize that like everyone comes from somewhere.
Mm.
And everyone has to start somewhere. No one's perfect. And
Right.
I'm not, and I never will be, but I'm just going to do the best I can. And Raven looked at me and he said, never negate your experience, because everything that was written down came from someone's experience.
That's right.
And that's the thing. So like we look to our elders and these beautiful moments. And, even in a class, it was a workshop that I was having with Janet and Gavin. Like this was, I think it was like right when the coven started. And Janet and Gavin came in and someone looked at her and she was like, well, what makes you an elder, not us? And she said, nothing. I just don't doubt my magic. And how beautiful is that? That means like with the experience that she's had, like the data points over her years, her wisdom has come together to a point that says, I don't doubt what I have to offer, and the universe doesn't doubt me. We question always, but we can't doubt what we do. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
I love it.
And those have all stayed with me so powerfully, because we all have this imposter syndrome, no matter what, no matter how experienced we are, we're going to have it. And we all have this beautiful thing that we have to offer that no one else can. And right, we all have passions and love that we're either born with or that we grow, and society tends to put them in boxes, but we don't have those. We have
Right.
earth. We're planted seeds, we're planted stars, whatever you want to call them. And we have these things that we love, but the universe is on our side.
Mm.
And the universe gave us the things we love because it wants us to use them.
Yes.
And when we fight the things we love, we're fighting the universe asking us to do our job, which means we're fighting it because we don't trust it to do its job. And just like you don't check on a seed when you plant it, you got to let it grow.
Yes. Yes.
And we forget to do that with ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. And we're all unique, and we all have something to offer, especially in the magical realm. That's why I tell my students all the time, the books will only take you so far. Then you got to put the books aside. And then, there were maybe 3 books when I first started. I mean, I grew up on a farm, and
I grew up in the woods.
yeah, in the woods.
It's funny to say, but it's true.
in the woods, learning from the trees, learning from the fields and the waters and the streams. I always remember that first time, playing in the woods and in the swamps and in the little stream, and I had my hand in there fishing for something. I don't know what I was looking for, and I stuck my hand underneath the overhang of the stream bed, and I came out with a handful of pure clay, and I was like,
Gotta make something.
I don't have to. I mean, we weren't going to be taken to the store to get artificial clay. It was just like, oh boy. And it was a gift. And of course, and then of course I had to learn how to, fire it and all that kind of stuff. Wasn't very successful then, but I was like 12. I mean, but
Why magic is a craft.
yes. And I was doing things in the woods that I look back now were all witchy, and I
Yes,
was
exactly.
learning
Same.
learning from nature. And today, it is a little frustrating because what book did you get that from? What author wrote that? Because I'm very resistant to writing. I write constantly, putting it out through a publisher. I just, maybe after I'm dead, somebody will find it and publish it. But I just rather teach and try to teach people to learn from nature themselves, take I use food as a metaphor. Everybody has to eat, so everybody can understand. So, you don't need to study food to walk into a supermarket and buy food and try to play with it a little bit. You want to get better at it. Yeah, get a couple books, get the basics, but then go with what works for you. Throw in a little bit of this, a little bit of that. If it works, fine. If not, change it up a little bit, and just don't burn yourself up on the stove, know some basics.
Yeah, well, that's really what it comes down to. And when people say things like, I don't need an altar, I don't need my magical tools, like, you're right, you're totally correct. You don't need them. They're just symbolism to focus. But you could also eat a bowl of spaghetti without utensils, and it does change the experience. But it's so true. And that's the thing. You don't need these things, but you do need to understand why they work and why they don't. In the same way, and I have some students that are left-handed, and you go through the whole like, okay, outgoing energy, ingoing energy, right-handed, left-handed, what feels right, what doesn't feel right, but this is proper and this is not. Well, you know what? No matter what, you set the table for a dinner party the same way.
Yes.
Just to understand what the things do and why they're there. You understand what things taste like, what they feel like. You set it the same way so that you could have a commonality to be able to describe to a larger group, because spirituality is so personal. It's so personal, but religion or a practice in a group has to be universal enough for people to be able to speak the same language. And that's all it is. You have to be able to teach something in a way that it is understandable, and then you hone in. Then you find out, I'm actually a lefty, or, I like to do the European thing and keep the fork in my left hand and cut with this hand and not switch it like the American way. Like, you'll find out what your nuances are, but you still have to know how to use a fork.
Exactly.
If you want to experience something that way. Again, you don't
Yes.
have to. But like, that's really what it comes down to. And it's a language. And to learn a language takes practice. And like you said, after a while, you have to put down the books and talk to someone that's been there, because it's just data points. And also, I think one of the things that's nice about having a teacher is you have someone to sit there and be like, I love you, but I'm going to call you out on your shit.
Yes.
And that's something that you don't get from a book. You don't have someone sitting there saying, are you addressing your ego? Have you looked at, like, what is this lesson? Face the mirror back at yourself. What could you take from this? Because everything is about, if we're able to perceive it, how we're able to internalize it and transmute it, and then put it back. Otherwise, we can't accomplish anything. It's not a conversation. A conversation is both expression and comprehension. And if we're having a conversation with the universe, if you're not willing to sit there and listen to the birds, that means you're uncomfortable sitting by yourself. And now what does that mean?
Yes.
And there's this interest, as a resurgence and an interest of witchcraft, but there's kind of a dark age of magic because people don't know where to look. And
Yes.
they're seeking these sources, and we have this beautiful tendency to have this new tool of like social media, the internet. But again, it's a tool. So people don't know how to utilize it as a resource, where it's finding the people that do have experience and wisdom. And not to say that new people don't, again, never negate an experience.
Yes.
But how could you go deeper without someone that's been there at least a little? You
Yeah.
know?
No, that's true. And there is that, that fine line of being a teacher, because I use that term teacher more than high priestess.
Yeah.
You know,
I do too, honestly.
I've been in
I
high,
use
well,
teacher more.
I've been a teacher of martial arts. I've been a teacher of so many different things. And, you know, and as long as I'm teaching somebody, because I like to say, you know, teacher guide, I've been down that road, and my job is just to tell you, you know, watch out for that rock, because when I stumbled
Exactly.
over it, it sucked.
Literally that.
Might
Literally
be
that.
careful, look out. It's getting a little rocky there when you hit that, as opposed to the attitude that comes from I'm a high priest or priestess. And
Yeah, that's why I don't really use it much. I'm like,
yeah, it is a title though that I think is worthy to have. And I've had those from the other side that'll say, yeah, you don't need any of the titles, everybody's the same, everybody's equal, which I do believe everyone basically starts out equal, and then, you know, by your actions and your behavior and, you know, your love or lack of it, you know, defines you. But, you know, people do want teachers.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can learn on your own, but like you say, you know, going to somebody that knows something, that has an experience that's like, yeah, if I was to go to Europe, I've never been there before, I'd want somebody to guide me that knows where to go and where not to go. You know, you
Yeah.
don't want to waste your money on this place. It's a bad experience. Maybe go here because everybody here loves this. So, you know, having a guide is really valuable.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people want.
I think so too. And going back to what you said about like the title, it's like it doesn't matter, but for some people, especially if you're going to be a teacher, it's like being a doctor. Like
Yes.
it's hard to be a doctor without having your doctorate. And it's not that like it necessarily like there are healers that don't have it, but it gives people an understanding that there's like a standard of
Credibility.
yeah, and like a comfort and like a okay, I could there's like a trust that could be there saying like this
Yes.
person's done something, this person's trained, this person's experienced, there's a safety there. And I
Yes.
think that that's kind of what it does,
Yes. And I think
especially
that's
if you're
important.
speaking to a tradition.
Yeah. And I think that's important too. You know, depending on what that person's looking for. So having that trust that somebody knows what they're talking about, and it's not just a power trip, because as you know, we've run into that too. Yeah. So wow, this is really exciting. I love everything about this. So we are going to put the link to the thread trailer and more information about the website where they can possibly join. And now, can anyone give their story, or what's the criteria you're looking for your thread documentary?
So the way our director has chosen to like have us kind of not dilute everything
Yes.
is we're starting with kind of my direct connections. That's like my direct threads because that's who we have contacts with. It's just like these are the people we could talk to. So
Yes.
we already have most of the people that we're talking to in the first film just for the sake of it's only going to be an hour and a half or something, and you can only talk to so many people to get so much information. So we're trying to get enough diversity to speak to enough traditions that we could have a good representation of something. And then we're hoping eventually that it might be able to become like 2 or 3 films that we can spread it out and go further again, like the web and then the tapestry. But at the moment, it's just who are elders, who are spiritual elders of different communities that are willing to speak with us and share with us that, and we're willing to listen. And the thing that's kind of that I think is beautiful about it is, again, the happenstance of the universe. Our crew are all professional filmmakers because, like, that's who we've hung out with the last number of years in our career. But most of them are also either like my lineage students or like actually witches in. So we're not going into these communities gawking.
Yes.
We're going into these communities genuinely wanting to learn, genuinely wanting to provide accurate representation, wanting to show respect. And we're also professional filmmakers, so we're not just like a bunch of people that don't know how to make it look good. So like there's going to be production value and respect in what we're presenting, and I hope that you could see that in the trailer and on the website and all the abouts, and you could go on the about section and look at who we're talking to and who there's our team. You could see the crew, and it's going to be interesting. And like I said, I'm just grateful because the universe was just like it aligned it. Like it wasn't something that I think had to be forced. And you know, the thing I always say is it's not a production, it's a ritual.
That's
What we're doing here is operating as if it's a ritual. Like the universe will provide the timing when it needs to. We have the energy. We won't do it without the right energy. We all are honest and open and communicative and treating each other with love and respect foremost. And the magical working is to try to bring everyone together, to just share that.
That's perfect. Well, that is really lovely. Well, I thank you so much, Deidre, for being here, and I would love to talk to you again in the future, especially when this has all come together and you're ready to release it. I've got to have you back. So,
Thank you.
well, it was
It's an
so
honor
nice.
to be here. Thank you so much, Faith.
Well, it was an honor to have you, and I know my viewers are super excited to meet you, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you again. So everyone, let's give a hand to Deidre Cotero. Thank you so much.
I am a witch. Magic is a language of the universe. It's something that for centuries people have learned to communicate with. And we've lost that. And there's an interest in wanting to learn how to do it again, but no one knows where to look. My elders teach me the language of the universe, how to hear it, how to learn.
The idea of being able to create or co-create is magic, and so that magic is all around us. I say that many people are witches without even using that term.
I think that's the root of witchcraft as a whole. I always tell people when they ask, like, well, what is witchcraft? What is this? And I say, it's about honoring and respecting everyone and everything.
It's life. It's life. It's life.
There's this golden thread that connects everything. No matter what tradition, no matter what pantheon, no matter what person, everything is connected. And while the world seems to split apart before our eyes, it's the threads that hold it together, that take my breath away. And so, I'll follow that thread, wherever it may lead. Around the world we'll go. Will you come with me to see what our spiritual elders have to share? And will you hold my hand as I step up as one of them?
Thank you so much, Deidre. That was so interesting. And as soon as the whole documentary is available, we'll make sure to let you know. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching tonight. And we have a brand new website we'd like to introduce you to if you'd like to check it out. We've been working really hard on it. It is enchantmentct, as in Connecticut, @gmail.com. That's our new email address. And enchantmentct.com is our new website. If you would like to check it out, you'll see all the episodes of The Magical Alternative there, along with a lot of other interesting things you might find to be informative and fun. So again, enchantmentct.com. If you would like to see behind the scenes here at Community Voice Channel in Bolton, Connecticut, you can write to us at enchantmentct@gmail.com. We can invite you to sit in our studio audience, get a tour of the television station. You can see how everything happens here behind the scenes and even learn how to use some of the equipment here. It's really awesome and amazing. You can even be a musical guest if you would like to. If you have some talent, we'd love to hear from you. November Sound is still coming back, but every now and then they're in such hot demand that they are needed elsewhere occasionally. So it'd be great to have some people sit in when they can't be here. So I want to thank everyone on the crew of The Magical Alternative and everyone here at Community Voice Channel in Bolton. You guys, I couldn't do it without you. You make me look good, and I appreciate you so much. And let's keep focusing on peace in the Middle East and Slava Ukraini. Thank you.